Mr. Katz, you and I both live in New York. I know the answer to this, but I want to hear you say it. What's the lifetime exemption from New York?
The lifetime exemption, well, it's a combination lifetime and death time exemption, is $1 million.
Right. What is the marginal rate on that for a deceased family?
The highest estate tax rate in New York is 16%.
So the possibility exists that in New York, for Mr. Flesher, what looks like 35% at $5 million is really a minimum of 16 once you reach a threshold of $1 million, and so that his effective rate will be 16% on that additional $4 million plus 51% on everything over that 5. You may want to reconsider, Mr. Flesher, whether you like the 5 or not. Were you aware of that, Mr. Flesher?
I was, but I didn't consider it part of this testimony here.
Right. Well, the interesting thing is that New York State has lost a lot of its population over the last few years. It's certainly not growing as fast as other states. And one of the reasons is that there are other places that are more inheritance tax friendly. So the people who have accumulated wealth have a disincentive to stay in New York. And I imagine it's generally that way. Any state in the country that has a higher rather than lower inheritance tax. The limit seems to be the problem. Certainly people who have $1 billion or multiple $1 billion, you may want to think differently about that. I know, like, for example, Bill Gates' father is very much in favor of a inheritance tax. But what we're talking about here is small businesses and how to preserve them and their wealth accumulating, job hiring, machinery, and that there is also a cost to society in general to the money that Mrs. Rolnick was talking about the government collects. Because if you dismantle a business that's been 40 years in the making, how have you really helped your community or your country? So I wonder about the $5 million limit, if it's enough, and if it's really the question. Perhaps a larger question is, do we want to tax it at all? Apparently some people don't. I'm open to discussion about that, but I do think that even the $5 million is a low limit, and to fix it at that limit, and with you talk about irrevocable life insurance trusts. These are huge expenses. I personally have friends who spend hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to figure out how to protect their estate. They go through multiple gyrations and put themselves at risk, give away property before they're ready to do it because, you know, they're still alive and they would really like to stay in control, but our government doesn't allow them to do that efficiently. So, I don't know, is there anything you'd like to say about that, Mr. Katz, being from New York?
Well, I think one of the other issues that in a way that Congress hurt states like New York was when they modified the estate tax law to eliminate the state death tax credit and change it to a state death tax deduction. Prior to the change in the law, whatever you had paid to a state like New York would come 100% off the top of the estate tax bill that you would pay to the federal government. By changing those rules and making it now just a deduction, you're only getting the effective rate benefit of that, costing people that live in states like New York and other states that do have their own independent estate tax significantly more money than
effectively paying a tax on a tax.
Effectively.
Right. Thank you very much. I yield back.